Hello, my dear dreamer. Welcome to tonight's gentle journey, a slow unfolding through time, where colors tell the story of who we are. So find a comfortable spot, maybe lie back, loosen your shoulders, let your breath fall into a quiet rhythm. Tonight, we'll travel through the world of hues and history, one soft brushstroke at a time. Every painting tells a story, but what if the colors themselves held deeper secrets? From the earthy ochres of ancient caves to the dazzling pigments of modern art, colors aren't just decoration. They're living echoes of human curiosity and creativity. Each shade is a discovery, a dream, a little miracle born from stone, fire, and imagination. And as you listen, your understanding of art, history, and even your own perception may gently transform. Before we begin our first chapter, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you under a blanket somewhere in the quiet of night? Or maybe you're listening as rain taps against your window. Comment your location below. It's beautiful to imagine our listeners scattered across the world, each surrounded by their own night sky, each wrapped in a different color of peace. Now, close your eyes, if you like. Let's travel back, not just centuries, but tens of thousands of years, to a world without names, without cities, without even the word color. Somewhere in a shadowed cave, a human crouches near a flickering fire, interred a piece of reddish stone ochre, rich with iron and earth. When they grind it and mix it with animal fat, it transforms into paint, the first whisper of human creativity. They press their hand against the wall, blow through a hollow bone, and a red mist surrounds their palm, leaving a handprint behind. A mark. A message that says, I was here. These ancient cave walls, in places like Lascaux and Altamira, still breathe with those early colors. Oxide reds, deep blacks, sun-warmed yellows. Each line drawn by torchlight told a story of animals, of spirit, of survival. Those weren't just drawings. They were the world's first prayers, in pigment. Imagine that dim cave now, the scent of smoke, the crackle of fire, the shimmer of red against stone. Each brushstroke is alive, moving under the flicker of light. The first artists may not have known it, but they had begun the greatest conversation humanity would ever have won between earth and imagination. As the centuries passed, we learned to speak in more colors. We dug into soil, crushed minerals, and found beauty hiding in the most ordinary places. Yellow from clay, brown from burnt bones, black from soot. Every shade was discovered through patience, accident, and yet, among all these ancient tones, one stood apart, the color of mystery, power, and divinity. Purple. Tyrian, purple. Its story begins along the Mediterranean coast, where tiny sea snails called murex hid among rocks. To make a single gram of dye, thousands of shells had to be crushed. The process smelled terrible, but the result shimmered like twilight itself. It was so rare that only royalty could afford it. Emperors wore robes of it. Kings built their image around it. Purple became the color of the divine, and for many centuries, common people weren't even allowed to wear it. Can you picture it now? A flowing robe, glimmering violet in torchlight, the deep color of dusk captured in silk. Still, not all art belonged to kings. Across the deserts of Egypt and the plains of Greece, the humble tones of earth, sienna, umber, and ochre, continued to paint the world. Temples, tombs, and homes glowed with these ancient pigments, ground from soil and mixed with egg or oil. They told the stories of gods and seasons, of rivers and suns. And when we look at them now, after thousands of years, they still breathe, as if time forgot to take their color away. Each pigment had a soul. Sienna was the warmth of sunset. Umber was the soft whisper of earth after rain. Artists didn't just use color, they lived with it. They ground it, mixed it, respected it. Because to paint was to borrow a little magic from the earth. So as you listen now, and the edges of your thoughts begin to blur into softness, imagine those first artists under the open sky, grinding stone into dust, whispering stories to the wind, and leaving behind something eternal. A handprint, a bison, a symbol proof that they saw the world and wanted it to remember them. You, too, are part of that lineage. Every time you look at a sunset or a flower and pause, your heart speaks the same language they did, the language of color. Let that thought rest inside you as your body sinks deeper into calm. The world's first colors have not vanished. They live on, glowing softly behind your closed eyes. And the story has only just begun. Long after those first hands left their marks on stone, humankind began to wonder if color could be coaxed, not just found. What if the earth could be persuaded to give more, to reveal shades hidden within its minerals? This question became the heartbeat of the ancient alchemists, dreamers who mixed fire and dust in pursuit of beauty. Picture Egypt under a sun so bright that even the shadows shimmer. In workshops along the Nile, artisans grind sand, copper, and limestone together, heating them until they fuse into something the world had never seen before. Egyptian blue. It was the first man-made pigment in history, a luminous hue like fragments of sky. When ground into powder, it became the color of eternity itself, decorating temples and tombs, the robes of gods, the ceilings of afterlife chambers. When you see it even now, still radiant after thousands of years, it feels as if the color is breathing alive, patient, eternal. The discovery of Egyptian blue changed everything. It proved that color could be born through human invention, not only by nature's accident. The ancients had performed a small act of magic. They had turned sand and fire into sky. Across the Mediterranean, the Romans inherited that magic and carried it further. Their painters, their builders, their physicians all had a fascination with color. They experimented with white lead to brighten their walls, with cinnabars to bring red to life, with verdigris to capture the green of leaves. Some of these substances were beautiful and deadly at once. To their Romans, beauty was worth a little danger. To them, the glow of a wall mattered more than the warning of a cough. And yet, in their risk and their curiosity, they gave the world a wider palette. Imagine aroma fresco, soft pink skin against ocean blue, gold edging a god's robe, the quiet confidence of civilization expressed through hue. They understood that color wasn't to merely sheen. It was felt a language of the senses. Beyond Rome, along the Silk Road, caravans carried spices, silk, and something far more precious, new colors. From Afghanistan came chunks of lapis lazuli, a deep, celestial blue unlike anything known in the West. Ground into dust, it became ultramarine, a name meaning beyond the sea. Its brilliance was so intense that even centuries later, artists would guard it like treasure. Imagine those first merchants revealing their cargo, cloth wrapped around shimmering blue stones that seemed to contain the sky itself. When crushed and purified, they yielded a pigment so rich, so pure, that it was often used only for the robes of the Virgin Mary in medieval paintings. Each stroke of ultramarine was a gift, each ounce a fortune. The trade routes of color wove the ancient world together. Ochres from Africa, indigos from India, vermilions from China. They traveled across deserts and seas, carried by camels, ships, and dreams. Through these pigments, civilizations spoke to each other without words. A shade discovered in one corner of the earth might end up illuminating a temple on another continent. You can almost hear the rhythm of it. The sound of pestles grinding, the faint scent of resin and ash, the heat of a kiln glowing orange. Each workshop was a heartbeat of discovery. Each jar of pigment, a little universe of possibility. Now, as you breathe slowly, let your mind drift into one of those ancient workshops. The air is warm, filled with dust and light. An apprentice stirs a bowl, watching the powder change from dull gray to brilliant blue. The master nods softly, satisfied. Outside, the day hums with life. Inside, a new color is born, and with it, another step in humanity's quiet love affair with beauty. The ancients believed color had power, not just to decorate, but to protect, to heal, to speak with the gods. Egyptian blue was worn by pharaohs as a charm against evil. Red ochre was painted on the bodies of warriors and brides alike, a sign of life and courage. These were not just pigments, they were prayers in disguise. And even now, as centuries of dust have settled, their brilliance hasn't truly faded, because color, real color, never dies. It simply waits, resting in stone and memory, until someone looks closely enough to awaken it again. So tonight, as you rest, imagine those ancient fires still burning somewhere deep beneath the earth, turning sand into blue, stone into flame, night into art. You are still part of that long, glowing lineage, the endless experiment between humankind and wonder. The world is quieter now, and your breath has slowed to match the rhythm of time. The pigments sleep beneath your thoughts like little embers, ready to glow again in the next dream. Alright, my dear dreamer, you've journeyed from the Earth's first colors to the alchemy of ancient pigments, and now you rest at the edge of a new dawn. In the story of Kala, the Renaissance has passed, and the world is about to burst into brilliance once again. Take a slow breath. Feel your thoughts loosen, like soft threads unraveling in candlelight. Let us drift gently into the next chapter of our story, the Industrial Revolution's colorful explosion. The world was changing. The hum of machines began to replace the rhythm of hand and hammer. Smoke rose over cities. Iron and steam reshaped how people lived, worked, and dreamed. But amid the noise and progress, something quietly magical was happening. Color itself was being reinvented. For thousands of years, humans had searched the earth for pigments, grinding minerals, boiling plants, extracting colors from insects and shells. But now, in the 19th century, a revolution began not in art studios, but in laboratories. Science was about to change the palette of the world. Picture a small, dim laboratory in 1856 London. A young chemist named William Henry Perkin is bent over his desk, trying to synthesize a treatment for malaria. He mixes, stirs, distills, and instead of medicine, something entirely unexpected happens. At the bottom of his flask, a brilliant violet shimmer appears. A new color, never before seen in nature. He has just invented Movine, the world's first synthetic dye. The liquid glowed like crushed violets in sunlight. It clung easily to fabric and did not fade. Suddenly, purple, once the color of kings and emperors, could be worn by anyone. Within a few years, Mauve swept through Europe. Fashion houses adored it. Artists admired it. The newspapers called it the Mauve Mania. For the first time, color had become democratic, not just a treasure for the wealthy, but a joy for all. Soon, other chemists followed. Reds, blues, greens, yellows, all could now be made artificially, brighter, and cheaper than ever before. The world's palette exploded. What had once been a limited set of natural shades now multiplied into hundreds, thousands of hues. Paints, fabrics, wallpapers, even the streets themselves began to bloom with new intensity. Imagine the sudden change. City walls painted in bold colors, clothing glowing under gas lamps, posters on street corners shouting with chromatic energy. The world had grown louder, livelier, more human. Artists, too, began to see differently, no longer bound to the slow grind of mineral pigments. They could buy tubes of color ready-made, portable, vibrant, alive. A box of paints could now travel anywhere. And with that, freedom came a movement that would change art forever. Impressionism. Think of Claude Monet standing beside a river, sunlight spilling over his canvas. Or Van Gogh, under a swirling night sky, painting with emotion as much as pigment. The invention of synthetic color allowed artists to paint not what they saw, but what they felt. Monet's shimmering blues, Renoir's delicate pinks, Van Gogh's burning yellows. All of these hues were made possible by the revolution of chemistry. Paints became portable in small tin tubes. Colors became clean, stable, and endless. The world's light could finally be captured in real time, beneath the open sky. Each brushstroke now carried the pulse of modern life. The speed, the light, the chaos, the beauty. Art was no longer about perfection. It was about perception, and color was its language. Beyond art, even everyday life became painted in possibility. Streets filled with colorful posters. Textiles glowed with patterns never before achievable. People dressed in shades once reserved for royalty. The world's gray corners were brightened, a celebration of progress, invention, and imagination. But not all was bright beneath the surface. Some of these new pigments, created with chemicals like lead, arsenic, and chromium, carried dangers. Fabrics that looked radiant could poison their wearers. Wallpapers tinted with Paris green, a pigment containing arsenic, sometimes made people ill. Beauty had gained its shadow, yet even in this, there was learning. Humanity was still finding its balance between creation and caution, between wonder and wisdom. Still, this era marked something profound. Color was no longer a secret held by the few. It was everywhere, on walls, on clothes, in books, and posters. It became a part of identity, of culture, of progress. Imagine the quiet joy of a factory worker in a violet scarf, a child holding a bright red toy, or an artist painting a yellow field under a blue sky, all born from the same spark in that little London lab. The Industrial Revolution didn't just change machines, it changed the way we see. Color became an equalizer, a gift to everyone. And in that way, it wasn't only a revolution of science, it was a revolution of the soul. Now, as you breathe softly, imagine the air around you shimmering with those newly born hues: purples, yellows, reds, and blues blending into twilight. The hum of distant machinery fades into a lullaby. The age of steam gives way to the age of color. Rest here for a moment, let the image linger, the world waking into brightness, each shade singing its own story. The hum of the industrial age fades now into silence, and the world begins to change once more. Steel gives way to silicon, the smell of oil paint drifts behind us, and in its place, the quiet glow of a screen begins to bloom. We are stepping softly into a new century, the modern age of color. Once, colors lived in earth and stone. Then they danced through glass and fabric, pigments and paint. Now, they live in light itself, each hue born not from minerals or plants, but from code, from tiny pulses of energy moving faster than thought. The 21st century began not with new canvases, but with new ways of seeing. Artists no longer needed to grind pigment or mix oils. They could paint with pixels. Every flicker of a monitor, every shimmer on a phone screen, carries the legacy of ochre caves and Tyrian purple seas. Imagine a single pixel glowing on your screen right now, red, green, and blue blending to make infinite shades. It is so small you cannot touch it, yet it holds a world. That pixel is the new pigment, the new brushstroke, the modern light. As computers became part of life, color became freer still. Digital artists painted without fear of fading. Photographers captured hues the eye could barely see, and designers built entire worlds of color that existed only in the glow of light. The story of color entered a new realm, one where imagination no longer had limits. Through nanotechnology, scientists began creating pigments that could bend light in ways nature never allowed. Some could reflect nearly all the light that touched them, producing whites so pure they seemed to float. Others absorbed nearly everything, like Vanti-Black, a pigment so deep and dark that objects coated in it appeared to disappear. Color, once a thing of earth and dust, had now reached the realm of the invisible. It had become both science and art, a collaboration between chemists, engineers, and dreamers. But even in this glittering digital era, humanity began to look back, not with regret, but with longing. The more colors we could make, the more we remembered the warmth of the handmade, the texture of the natural. Artists began mixing the digital with the organic, real brushstrokes scanned into screens. Natural pigments, meeting the precision of technology. A new balance emerged, the future learning from the past. And beneath all this progress, another awareness began to rise, the need for care. We learned that not all beauty must come at the cost of the earth. So began the movement toward sustainable color pigments made from algae, plants, bacteria, and even recycled materials. Colors that breathe with the world, not against it. Imagine a world where your favorite blue is grown, not mined, where the green on a painting was made without harm, where the walls of a home glow not with chemicals, but with life itself. That's the future being painted now, quietly, thoughtfully, with hands that remember the ochre caves and hearts that look toward distant stars. And as technology grows, so does the intimacy of color. Think of your screen as soft glow right now, the subtle warmth of light meeting your eyes. Even in this modern form, color is still communication, still comfort. It tells you stories, just as it did on cave walls thousands of years ago. From pigments of soil to pigments of light, color's journey has always been our own. A search for expression, beauty, meaning, and memory. Each hue a reminder that life itself is a spectrum, vast, shifting, and endlessly alive. As you lie here, let your mind drift through those shades. The violet of twilight, the soft blue of early morning, the golden hum of sunlight, the deep black of rest. Let them swirl gently, like a slow dance of time. Because even now, as the world hums in light and code, the story of color continues in your dreams, in every shade of the night. And maybe, if you listen closely, you can almost hear them whispering the pigments, the pixels, the centuries of color speaking as one, a lullaby of light. The story of color has carried us through caves and temples, across oceans and into galaxies of light. And now, as the hum of the present quiets, we can finally listen, not to the noise of invention, but to the whisper of meaning. Color has always been more than sight. It is emotion made visible, a pulse beneath the surface of the world. Think of red, the color of heartbeat, of life, of love, and courage. Think of blue calm as the ocean, endless as the sky. Think of gold, the promise of light after darkness. Every hue holds something human inside it. Even now, in this quiet moment, color lives within you. The warmth of your skin under lamplight, the dark comfort of the night around you, the faint silver of the moon in your mind's eye. You are surrounded by a silent orchestra of color, and you are part of it. For artists across centuries, painting was never just about depiction. It was about remembrance, a way to hold on to what fades. The ochre handprints on a cave wall were not only art, they were a declaration. I was here. The blue robes of a Madonna were not just pigment. They were devotion, made visible. The streak of gold in a sunrise, the violet in a shadow, all moments caught, preserved, and passed down like gentle echoes through time. Even now, when you look at a painting, your eyes do something miraculous. They do not just see color, they translate it. Light enters your eyes, travels along nerves, and becomes feeling. Your body turns color into memory, into meaning. That is why the soft pink of dawn can calm you, why the deep green of a forest can steady your heart, why the blue of evening can make you ache with peace. Science explains wavelengths and reflection, but the soul explains connection. We do not just see color, we feel it. And in feeling it, we remember that the world is alive. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking through time's gallery. On one wall, the deep red of a handprint in a cave. Next, the soft shimmer of Egyptian blue. Then, the glowing gold of a Byzantine halo. Farther on, the delicate pink of a Rococo gown. The indigo coat of a 19th century poet. The neon pulse of a digital city at night. All of them different, and yet all telling the same story. The story of longing, of wonder, of being human. Each era added a color to the spectrum of history. And now, here you are, part of that continuum. Your own world painted in colors born from a million dreams before yours. So when you wake tomorrow and sunlight spills across your room, pause for a moment. Notice the way the light touches the wall, the faint change of tone between shadow and shine. That is the universe painting, again and again, for you. And when you see color, in a flower, in a fabric, on a screen, remember, you are seeing the work of centuries, of minds and hands, of earth and stars. From the ochres of ancestors to the pixels of the present, all of it has been leading here to this quiet instant of seeing. Because color is not just an art, it's in memory, in laughter, in rest, in you. So breathe slowly. Let the colors inside you settle into harmony. Red to warmth, blue to peace, gold to hope. Let them cradle you now, as softly as a lullaby sung in light. The story of color never ends. It changes form, it finds new mediums, but it always returns to eyes, to hearts, to dreams. And as you drift toward sleep, remember, every hue you've ever seen is a trace of life's desire to be seen, to be felt, to be remembered. So rest now. Let the colors fade into twilight. Let the twilight fade into quiet, and let the quiet hold you tenderly, endlessly, like the first stroke of color on a waiting canvas. Color does not only live on canvas or walls, it lives within emotion, in the way the heart remembers, the way memory blooms. Think for a moment. When you recall happiness, what hue does it take? Perhaps gold, or a soft peach. When you think of sorrow, maybe gray, or blue, or something that has no name at all. Our feelings are painted from the same palette as the world around us. When dawn breaks, the soft pinks of the sky don't they who's appear. They speak to something ancient within us, something that knows beginnings. When night falls, and everything turns indigo and deep, our minds grow still, because darkness is the color of rest, of trust, of the universe's breathing. The ancient poets knew this before the scientists could prove it. They wrote that color is the soul's language, a way for the unseen to reveal itself. And now, we know that even our bodies respond to hues. Blue slows the heartbeat. Red stirs alertness. Green invites balance. Yellow awakens curiosity. It's as if the universe painted emotions into the very physics of light. Imagine, for a moment, standing in a great, open field at dusk. The sky above you shifts from rose to amber to violet. You feel your body relax with every change. The temperature drops. The air thickens. And you realize, color isn't something you see. It's something you feel moving through you. And just like that, color becomes music. Each hue a note, each tone a rhythm in the grand composition of the world. The red of sunset, a deep, resonant drum. The blue of evening, a quiet flute. The green of leaves, a low, steady hum that never stops. Artists through time have tried to play this symphony with brushes. Composers have listened for it in chords. Even scientists, in their own way, have measured it in wavelengths. But none have captured it completely, because the music of color can't be contained. It exists only in experience. Think of how one painting can make you cry, while another fills you with peace. The pigments are nothing more than minerals or light, yet they hold the power to stir something deeper than words. That is color at its truest, not as matter, but as memory. There are hues that live forever in the heart. The yellow of your first sunrise after sorrow, the deep blue of a night you didn't want to end, the red of someone's laughter in a warm room, the pale gray of quiet mornings, when everything feels still enough to start again. Every person carries a secret palette invisible to others, painted by moments that only they have lived. And so, color becomes autobiography. It writes us without ink. In dreams, too, color plays. The shades in your sleep are not random. They are messages from your mind's gentlest language. Sometimes they whisper comfort, sometimes longing, sometimes just stillness. If you dream in color tonight, remember, your soul is painting again. And if you don't see color, that's all right too. Some of the most beautiful dreams are drawn in light and shadow, where feeling replaces form. Even in black and white, emotion finds its spectrum, because color is never really gone. It simply hides in silence until you're ready to see again. Now, as you breathe softly, imagine your thoughts turning into mist, painted with faint hues. They swirl slowly, silver, lavender, pale gold. Each exhale softens the world a little more, until you are floating within a cloud of calm. There is nothing to learn here, nothing to prove, only to remember that you are part of the same spectrum, a being of light, shaped by time and tenderness. And perhaps as you drift, you realize something. Every color that has ever existed, from the first drop of ochre to the brightest digital hue, has only ever been trying to say one thing, that life is meant to be seen and felt and cherished. Let that thought rest with you now. The night hums quietly, the palette of dreams waiting just behind your eyelids. You are safe. You are surrounded by color, and color, in its quiet wisdom, is surrounding you right back. Long before history was written in words, it was written in color. People marked their stories, not with letters, but with pigments, on stones, on cloth, on the bodies of their loved ones. The red ochre smeared on a cave wall told of a successful hunt, a child's birth, a prayer for the sun to rise again. Those marks, though simple, were the first storytellers. Color became a language that could cross generations, a language that did not need translation. When a mother painted her child's hands with clay, when a shaman dyed his robes in blue and gold, when a tribe painted symbols on a rock face, they were saying, we were here, we lived, we felt. Every culture found its own hues of remembrance. The ancient Egyptians painted their gods in the colors of the elements: green for fertility, black for rebirth, blue for the sky that carried the soul beyond death. In China, the color red became the breath of life and luck, painted on doors, stitched into wedding clothes, carried in festivals that echoed through the centuries. In India, saffron and turmeric burned bright sacred yellows that marked purity, power, and light. In Japan, white was not absence, but grace, the beginning and the end. And in the deserts of Africa, indigo still stains the robes of the Tuareg people, who carry the color of twilight wherever they go. Through color, the world remembered itself. Each pigment a fragment of collective memory, each shade a story passed from hand to hand. Even now, our lives are colored by this inheritance. The flags that wave, the fabrics we wear, the rooms we paint, all of them speak with echoes older than we know. When a bride wears white, she is carrying the memory of ancient purity rituals. When mourners wear black, they are continuing a conversation that began thousands of years ago. Even the simple act of lighting a candle, the golden hue trembling in the dark, is an ancient gesture of remembrance. And yet, memory does not only belong to ritual. It hides in the smallest moments too. The color of your grandmother's shawl, the pale blue of a childhood bedroom, the orange glow of an evening street where someone once waited for you. These colors live quietly in you, waiting to rise like soft ghosts when the heart calls them. Sometimes, a scent or a sound awakens them, and suddenly, a whole world returns. A fragment of sky, a flash of fabric, and memory rushes back in color. You see not the moment itself, but its hue, the tone of its feeling. That's how color remembers for us what words forget. Across centuries, humans have trusted color to hold what cannot be spoken. Monks illuminated manuscripts with ultramarine and gold, each stroke a meditation. Nomads wove stories into carpets, each thread dyed to represent a season, a journey, a prayer. Artists painted saints, lovers, landscapes, not to preserve faces, but to preserve light. And in each of these acts, there was a wish, that something of the present might outlive it, glowing quietly through time. That color might become a vessel for memory, carrying feeling across centuries, across silence. You, too, are part of that continuum. Your life, your moments, your emotions, all have their palette. The laughter of a friend, coral, the comfort of home, beige and amber, the ache of loss, indigo, gray, and sometimes the softest violet. And when you remember, you are painting again inside your mind's gallery, each color shimmering like breath. So, as you rest now, let your memories drift before you, not as stories, but as sadness. Watch them float, soft and blurred, blending into one another. The gold of joy, the blue of peace, the rose of love, the silver of forgiveness. Each one touches you and then dissolves, leaving only calm. Because color does not cling. It teaches you to see, to feel, to let go, and to begin again. It reminds you that every ending fades gently into another beginning, just as one shade melts into the next on the horizon. So, breathe, let your inner colors settle into stillness. They are your memories, your story, your proof of being alive. And as you sink deeper into rest, the night around you becomes its own painting, the black of quiet, the blue of peace, the faint golden thread of a dream not yet born. Every civilization has seen color not only as decoration, but as language, a way to define who they were, what they loved, and what they feared. For the Egyptians, gold shimmered with the promise of eternity. For the Greeks, the blue of the sea was sacred to their gods, vast and unknowable. For the Aztecs, red meant life, blood, the rhythm of the sun itself. And for those who wove the silks of China, each dye was a symbol. Imperial yellow for power, crimson for celebration, jade green for harmony. Color was never random. It was intention made visible, a society's collective heartbeat expressed in pigment and cloth, in ritual and song. Walk through the centuries in your mind and see them, Roman senators in their white togas, edged with purple, declaring their status under the Mediterranean sun. Japanese monks in saffron robes, walking silently through cedar forests. The bright beadwork of the Maasai reds and blues shimmering in the African light. Each arrangement speaking of age, courage, and belonging. The woven blankets of the Andes, deep pinks and greens, alive with patterns that echo mountains and sky. Every culture has sung its own song of color, and yet somehow all those songs blend like threads in a single vast tapestry, woven from the earth's own spectrum. Color became the bridge between the sacred and the everyday. It guided rituals, marked transitions, and held the essence of belief. When the Navajo spun their rugs, red symbolized the earth, white the dawn, black the night, blue the sky. Each hue was a prayer, not spoken, but lived. Even in architecture, color told stories. Think of the golden domes of Istanbul, glinting in sunlight, the cool blue tiles of Persian mosques, repeating like a dream of infinity, the terracotta walls of Indian forts, warm and enduring as the land itself, the stained glass of European cathedrals, where sunlight fractured into 1,000 sermons of light. Each place found its truth in a palette, each hue an act of devotion. And so color became more than beauty. It became identity. When a people painted their homes, dyed their fabrics, or carved their symbols, they were saying, "This is who we are." Even today, those echoes remain. Flags still wave with meaning born centuries ago. Red for courage, blue for peace, green for hope, white for unity. The shades shift, but the purpose remains, to remind us that we belong to something greater, something that has color in its soul. Sometimes, colors united. Sometimes, they divided. But always, they revealed the power of the unseen. How something as simple as a hue could carry history, emotion, pride, and memory all at once. In many cultures, color was even medicine. Healers painted symbols in certain pigments to balance the spirit. Yellow to lift despair, blue to calm fear, green to restore strength. It wasn't superstition, it was a deep intuition, an ancient understanding of how color mirrors the inner world. And maybe that's why, no matter where we live or what language we speak, color still moves us the same way. We can look at a sunset and feel the same ache. We can wear a certain color and feel braver, gentler, or freer. Culture has shaped color, yes, but color has shaped culture just as much. It has taught us how to feel together, how to celebrate, to mourn, to hope. It has been our most silent teacher, reminding us that beauty is not just seen, but shared. Now, imagine the world itself, not as a map divided by borders, but as a swirling canvas of colors blending at the edges. Each culture a shade, each shade touching the next, until the whole planet glows softly, like a single painting breathing under the night. You are part of that painting to one brushstroke, among billions. Your emotions, your choices, your very presence, all adding their quiet hue to the story of humankind. And just as the first artists once painted to say, "I was here," you, too, leave traces of color behind in the lives you touch, in kindness, in creation, in love. So breathe again, slowly, let the thought settle. Every culture, every shade, every person, part of one endless spectrum of being. The world itself is art. And tonight, it rests with you. As civilizations evolved, color stopped being just something we saw. It became something we spoke. Language bent itself to its light. We began to name the sky, the leaf, the flame, to carve the spectrum into words. But here's the secret. In the beginning, not every culture could see all the colors we see today. Ancient languages often had no word for blue. The Greeks called the sea. The Japanese once used the same word, ao, for both green and blue. And many tribes described the world in tones of life and light. Not in hues, but in essence, bright, dark, warm, cool, alive, fading. Naming a color was an act of discovery. When humanity found the word for blue, it wasn't just describing the sky, it was learning to see it anew. Our eyes had always known the shade. Our minds simply hadn't caught up. Color taught us perception. It taught us how language could expand the world, how a single syllable could change what we notice, what we remember. When poets called love red, sorrow gray, and hope green, they weren't inventing metaphors, they were mapping emotion into light. Science, centuries later, confirmed what intuition already whispered. The more words we have for color, the more colors we perceive. In languages where there are many blues, people actually see more variations in blues. Where there is no word for purple, the color itself blurs into shadow. We are, quite literally, shaped by the words we give to color, and by the feelings those words awaken. Emotion and hue began to dance together. Red became passion and danger. Blue became calm and sorrow. Yellow carried joy, while black carried silence. White became purity, but also emptiness. Green was life and envy and renewal all at once. Cultures painted their emotions across the world's canvas, turning feelings into symbols that still speak across time. In India, brides wear red for love and strength. In the West, white means beginning. In parts of the East, it means farewell. In Africa, black is not mourning alone. It is also the color of fertility and rain. Color became emotion's mirror, shifting meaning as it crossed borders, yet always returning to one truth. Every shade holds a pulse. When you look at the sky and feel peace, that is centuries of memory in your eyes. When you see a flame and feel both fear and warmth, that's language, culture, and instinct blending into one. You are not simply seeing, you are remembering what humanity has felt since the dawn of color. And still, the dance continues. Each generation adds new shades, new names. Cyber blue, millennial pink, emerald haze. We keep painting the unseen, translating emotion into color and color into speech. Even your screen, glowing softly right now, is a modern ritual, light speaking to the heart through coded hues. So pause. What color are you tonight? What hue hums quietly in your thoughts? The soft gray of reflection, the amber of hope, the violet of becoming, whatever it is. If it belongs to the same ancient story, the one that began when the first human looked up and decided to name the light. You're lying there, perhaps beneath a quiet ceiling, maybe under a whisper of lamplight, and somewhere, unseen, color hums softly in tune with your heartbeat. Because you see, color doesn't just belong to sight, it belongs to sensation. And long before scientists ever measured a wavelength, artists and dreamers began to feel that colors could sing. Imagine a time when great halls were lit only by candles, and the air trembled with the deep hum of a cello or the shimmer of a flute. Painters would stand in corners, listening, and swear that they could see the notes. A golden chord might flicker in their mind, like sunlight on glass. A minor tone might darken to violet or deep blue. The senses began to merge, sound bleeding into sight, sight into feeling, and art began to stretch its arms across every boundary. Even now, If you close your eyes and listen to a soft piece of music, don't you sometimes see it? A wave of warm orange, a brush of green, a flash of deep indigo rising like dusk. That's the old connection stirring the ancient bridge between color and tone. Some called it synesthesia, when the mind's gates open, and one sense spills gently into another. To a synesthete, a piano note may appear as a burst of yellow light. A violin's cry may shimmer in silver threads. They don't imagine it, they experience it. It's as real to them as sound itself. But even for those who do not have that gift, something similar lingers. Composers through the centuries spoke of color in music. They built symphonies and shades. Dark adapt, bright allegros, soft, pale sound. Claude Debussy said that sound was light in motion. Wassily Kandinsky, the painter, swore that each hue had a musical soul. Yellow, like the high clear ring of a trumpet. Blue, like a deep cello's whisper. Red, like the steady pulse of a drum. In that marriage of sound and sight, art found a new heartbeat. A canvas could hum, a melody could glow, and from that moment on, color was never just color again. Think of a sunset symphony, violins melting into gold. Think of the night sky's orchestra, indigo strings and soft, silver percussion. You can almost hear it now, can't you? Each shade, a note. Each shadow, a pause. Each flicker, a breath between two beats. Modern science would later show that color and sound are indeed cousins. Both are vibrations, waves moving through different worlds. Sound trembles through air, color through light. Each has frequency, rhythm, tone, and our bodies, tuned by nature, respond instinctively. Fast vibrations feel energetic. Reds, oranges, drums, laughter. Slow waves soothe. Blues, bass, sighs. Twilight, we are, all of us, walking symphonies of color and tone, our moods shifting through invisible harmonies. When we fall in love, we burn in crimson. When we mohern, our sound and color fade together. And when we dream, both glow softly at once, the lullaby of hue and harmony blending in the dark. Close your eyes for a moment. Let the silence around you deepen until it has its own tone, a kind of dusky blue. Maybe there's a hint of gold behind your eyelids, the ghost of a thought still glowing. You are listening to Kala now. You are seeing music. You are standing exactly where ancient art was born, in the place where the senses meet, and creation becomes a single, steady breath. And in that stillness, remember, the world itself hums in color. The sea sings in aquamarine. The forest chants in emerald. The dawn opens in peach and rose. Even the shadows of night are not truly black. They re a chorus of purples and grays, humming you toward sleep.